Welcome to Ashlee Cakes Live. I'm super excited. This is week 2 of live streaming. And after we got all of the nerves out last week, I'm excited to be here again. This week, however, I'm doing it completely solo. So last week I had a little help. This week I'm doing it solo. So if there's some technical difficulties, please bear with me. Woo! Pumpkin pie. Has anyone made a pumpkin pie completely from scratch before? Because that is what we're going to do today. It's way easier than most people think. In fact, it barely takes any more time than opening a can of pumpkin puree and doing it that way. So, I mean, it's not any harder. It's a little bit more time consuming, but no harder. So that's what we're going to do today. All right, let's get started. Ooh, hold on. I have something cool. Let's try this. See if it works. I'm still trying to figure out all of this cool technical stuff that I can do. Ready? Ooh, it worked! Hey! Cool little intro. I'm working on getting all the cool stuff added to the streams. All right, so first thing that you want to do is get a sugar pumpkin. Can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure that the volume's working, so somebody let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. I guess if I'm asking if you can hear me, you can't necessarily. I'm going to check my volume on my phone. Hello, 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 hello. I'm not seeing any volume. This is a problem. Hello, hello, hello. Hello from India, Michelle. It's nice to see you. Can you hear me, Michelle? Yes, yay, you must be able to hear me because Sarah responded. Yay, I'm so glad. Okay, now that the technical stuff is out of the way and I think you can hear me, we are going to move on. So, the correct kind of pumpkin that you want to get is a sugar pumpkin. And if you look on the bottom, there's actually a recipe for pumpkin pie right at the bottom of most sugar pumpkins. It's super duper easy. We're actually going to do our recipe just a little bit different. First thing we're going to do is take the sticker off. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off this stem here. Now they can be kind of hard. What I usually do is mark it and then turn it, kind of keeping my knife in there. I had one the other day that just toppled right off, and then it turns out it was bad. So having it be hard to cut is actually a good sign. All right, there we go. Now you're going to want to take this and put it right here on on the nice flat surface and use that. We're going to cut it in half. Oh, take some mussels. There we go. And then we have all of this glorious inside. And I'm going to take, I've already scooped out some earlier today, so I'm going to take a spoon and you want to get out all of that stuff inside. Just like if you were carving a pumpkin. Now, I'm saving the seeds because my daughter's obsessed with these and she wants to try to plant them and make them work. And so we can have a bunch more sugar pumpkins next year. So that's what we're attempting to use. Oh, I'm so glad that you like the cheesecake recipe. It's definitely one of my favorites. Have you tried any of the other flavors that I have on my website? I will say the pistachio is pretty amazing, but the salted caramel cheesecake is divine. Oh, I'm so sorry, Michelle. I'm still new to all this and the settings. I will see what I can do about that. Your cereal's on the table, buddy. Well, it's on the other side. All right, so that's not too hard. There you go. We have this nice cleaned out pumpkin. And then what we want to do is take this, pick a tray. like to put parchment paper on my tray. You don't have to, you can just use the tray, but the pumpkin can sometimes stick to the tray and blah. I don't really like all that stuff sticking. So we're going to put, not this one because I haven't scraped out the seeds. Take this one and put it down. And I have one that I scraped out yesterday, or earlier today, I mean. And we're gonna take a fork and we're gonna stab it real good. A couple times. Then you wanna take some foil and kind of cover your pumpkins with the foil. It doesn't have to be totally perfect. You don't need to have them like completely sealed and cover every inch of them. As you can see, this is kind of loose and there's some stuff under here. Anyway, you're gonna bake this at 350 degrees for an hour and a half. And because I'm super awesome and I know all the TV magic tricks, I've already done some so that we can move right on and don't have to wait an hour and a half, because that would be super annoying. All right, so moving on. Look how great those look. As you can see, it kind of seeps a little bit. Right over here. So you just peel these right off. All right. No, Michelle Wood, you can't use larger pumpkins simply because it's not the right kind of pumpkin. If you can find a sugar pumpkin, which is what this is, larger, then yes, you could do it, but this is the only size I've ever seen sugar pumpkins come in. Yes, you want to bake them so that they get nice and soft. See how soft and squishy this is? Oh, Joanne, you're so sweet. I have had a pretty crazy summer, and I summer setting up all this live streaming stuff, but I am back now. Right, so now it's super easy to do this. Now I want to peel off all of that skin. Sometimes it comes off in nice sheets, and pulling it off in those nice sheets is super satisfying. I don't know about you guys, but I just kind of love that, like grabbing one and just pulling it down. But this one, for some reason, isn't coming off in nice sheets for me. But so just take off all that skin. You don't have to worry about taking off all of this golden brownness that's on the outer edges. These are sugar pumpkins. You can find them at any grocery store. They'll even have a recipe from at the bottom. All right, man, this one's taken a long time to peel. The one I did yesterday had that total satisfying of just like whoop, peeling the whole skin off in once. It was awesome. All right. We are getting there. And then you take your food processor and then take your pumpkin. It's just falling apart in my hands. That's how perfect this is. I found these sugar pumpkins at Target, Taylor, but Walmart usually has them as well. I think anybody has them. Yeah, if you don't have pumpkin puree in stores where you live, this is a great option. And like I said, it's a little bit time consuming just because of the, hour and a half it takes to bake it. But other than that, it's super, super easy. You don't have to add any spices to it. You don't have to do anything special. You just cut it in half, put it in the oven, bake it. And then we're gonna just puree it. Well, make sure not to get, as you're peeling it, your skin's inside your food processor. That would be nasty. Yes, sugar pumpkins can also be called pie pumpkins, Michelle. That's a great question. All right, this is kind of a boring menial thing, but it needs to be done. So if you have any questions, this is a great time to ask them. Ba-da-da-da. When you're preparing for live, I think I just got some skin in there again. I must not have. When you're preparing for live segments, like try to be prepared having these already baked and stuff like that, but it's always surprising that when I'm making these at home by myself, it doesn't seem like it takes that much. But then the second you're in the audience, you're like, oh my word, this is so slow. But as you can see, it's just messy, but super easy. Oh. Oh, I kind of wish that one of them would just peel off really before you. I love. All right, we're getting close. Now, I made this recipe yesterday, so I have a finished pie at the end of all this to show you, so we don't have to wait for it to cook and cool at the end. And I found in the past, sugar pumpkins, usually one made one pie for me pretty easily. But I don't know if sugar pumpkins are just getting smaller or my target just has smaller ones. So that's why I did 1.5. The great thing about this pumpkin puree is actually that it freezes really beautifully, and I'll use whatever's left, whatever we don't use today, in my pumpkin pancakes or my pumpkin cheesecake, or my son's been asking for pumpkin bread. And this puree, any recipe that calls for pumpkin puree, you just use this. The color will be a little bit different in your final outcome because you're using fresh, but the taste is amazing. So yes, to answer your question, Cheshire Cat, this tastes so much better than store-bought puree. I mean, you wouldn't really, anybody who swears by the puree is going to tell you, no, they're exactly the same. But I challenge you. I challenge you to try it and see for yourself. Personally, I usually will bake up 3 to 4 of these at a time and just save the puree and use it. I go through a lot of it. I go through a lot of sugar pumpkins, but I want to say these sugar pumpkins were like $1.50. So cheaper than the puree, and more delicious and super easy. So for me, I don't know why you wouldn't just go this way, other than people just don't know. People just don't know how easy this is to do. Ooh, we're almost done. Getting to the end. You've always wanted to use an actual pumpkin for recipes. Yeah, Megan, you are welcome. It's really not that intimidating to do. I mean, I guess the idea is like, oh, I'm standing in front of the stove all day doing this, but like I threw this one right here in the oven earlier today after I got my kids off to school, and then I just left and went about my business and did all my other stuff, and then came back and it was done. So it's really not any harder to make your puree. All right. Quick hand rinse. And now this is ready to process. Okay, we're gonna bring over Vera. For any of you who are new to my channel, maybe you might not know who Vera is. Vera is my Bosch mixer, and I call her that because she's my favorite tool. And if you know the movie reference, then you're as big of geek as I am, and we can be best friends. If you don't know the TV movie reference, it's okay. I guess TV reference is what I should say. All right, let's change angles so you can see this a little bit better. All right, there we go. Look how cool this whole setup is. All right, and we're just gonna kind of pulse to get it started. And the steam is just rising out of this.
Mom,
all right.
Slow?
What, sweetheart?
Did it go slow?
No, it's not going too slow. All right, so now I'm gonna scrape down the sides, and my stupid thing, I can't take the lid off unless I take it all the way out, so. Yes, you can totally use your puree, Gail, another time, which is why I make a really big batch at once. Oop, there's a little piece of skin. I'm gonna pull it out. It freezes beautifully. You refrigerate it for a couple of days, or you can throw it in the freezer. I usually kind of measure it out in normal measurements for me, like 15-ounce can is pretty common recipe. So, so that's about like a cup and a half. So I'll put these in like Ziploc baggies and cup and a half measurements and kind of flatten them so that they're easy to break up. And then I'll freeze them and then use them in recipes. Any recipes that calls for puree, you can use this instead. All right, scrape the sides. I'm gonna start pureeing this again. Now, there's a couple different tricks if this is a little too thick or if it's a little too thin, but we're gonna wait till it's all the way pureed to make that decision. this out. Let's see how it's doing. Oh, look how good that looks. And look at that beautiful color. Oh, it looks amazing. All right, I'm going to puree it one more time after scraping this. Just make sure that I think it is good to go. Yes, to the answer to the question, Sarah Joy, you want to make sure you're using a sugar pumpkin. It's something called a high pumpkin. It's spitting at me because I have a lid on. You guys can see the puree. Oh, okay. Move here out of the way. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can also just use a blender, but you're not going to want to do, you know, what I did, a pumpkin and a half at one time. You're going to do much smaller batches, puree it, pour it out. So if you have a food processor handy, I definitely recommend that. Bigger the batch, bigger the food processor. I currently have 4 food processors, so you know, you can just use any of those. All right, so if your puree is a little too thick, you can add simply just a little bit of water to it. I would recommend doing half a teaspoon at a time because it's amazing how just a little bit of water goes a long way and can change the results drastically. Typically, so for me, I find that the puree tends to be a little bit on the wet side. Like right now, this looks really great, but after it sits for a couple minutes, I'll notice it kind of settle a little bit and I'll get some liquid down here. So what I'm going to do, there we go. Lost you for a second. All right, so what I'm going to do, let me get this ready for it, is take a bowl and a strainer and a tea towel. And I'm going to put the tea towel over the strainer, like that. And I'm going to just pour the puree right into there. Hello, Virginia CM. Glad you could make it. Oh, right, Heather? Bosch is the only way to go. I adore mine. I've had it forever. I grew up with one. My mom had one. My grandma had one. My ex-mother-in-law has one. Like, they're just amazing machines. I have a Florida Bosch who's never heard of Bosch. We talk all about how awesome it is. My sisters all have Bosch. You're Bosch for sure. All right. Oops. Nasty. And then we're just going to let this sit while we make the pie crust. So easy peasy. At the end of it, we'll see if there's any liquid. Once it stops dripping, it's done. If it's not very wet, this isn't going to hurt it, so that's why I tend to do it. If it is a little bit too wet, then it'll soak up the moisture and we'll be left with the perfect texture for the puree. So throw this in the sink and let's get the pie crust ingredients out. Leave you with a picture of the finished product for just a second while I wander around getting everything that we need for the next part. All right. Technology is so cool that we can do all of this setup and share everything. All right. Really quickly before we move on, you don't want to wipe down any mess. Like I said, I tend to go through like 2 washcloths a day in my kitchen, constantly just keeping everything clean and easy to work with. Okay, so pie crust time. This is my classic flaky pie crust, pretty standard. Yeah, as long as you can find the right pumpkin, Paulina, then you can totally make any, not just pumpkin pie, but any recipe that uses pumpkin puree. All right, so this is 2.5 cups flour. We're going to add a teaspoon of sugar. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to give this a whisk. Okay, now we're a little off. Sorry about that. So now we're going to want to add the butter and the shortening. Now you want to add cold butter. Now I've already cut mine up into all these nice little chunks. You're going to have a much easier time making your pie if you've already cut up your butter. And then for shortening, you should just take your spatula and you don't want to cold chunk at once. Kind of want to break it up and let that fall in your dry ingredients. Oops, wrong thing. All right, so while I'm breaking up my shortening, this is a good time to answer any questions. A couple of questions that we've had so far. Where to get these? Now, I'm in America, and we can find sugar pumpkins or pumpkin pie pumpkins at pretty much any grocery store. I've been seeing them at my Target for the last 2 weeks already. I haven't checked Walmart, but I'm sure that most of them have them already. I'm assuming most grocery stores at this point, now that we're in October, would have them. But it's worth asking. And if your local grocery store doesn't carry pumpkin pie pumpkins or sugar pumpkins, kind of depends on what area you live in, what they call them, then just ask. And usually it's, especially early on in the season like this, they can tell you exactly when they're going to be arriving or when they expect them to arrive. Now I don't know any other way to make this than with the correct pumpkin. Sugar pumpkin or pumpkin. There's different consistencies, different pumpkins, like the pumpkins that we all see and are used to during holidays. You definitely want to look for the right kind of pumpkin, or you're really not going to be happy with the results, and the flavor's just not going to be what you want it to be. All right, so this is all thrown in. And now we're going to take our pastry cutter. So with the pastry cutter is great because it has these 5 blades. There you go. Now, some people use knives, and they'll take the knife and they'll cut it across from each other. But I found that using the knife actually doesn't really work very well, and it takes a lot longer and it's a lot harder. So I definitely think using the pastry cutter with its 5 blades works best for a really good flaky pie crust. Now I will admit, I used to try to use my Bosch mixer with the pastry whisks. And while the pie crust tasted just fine, it totally lost all the flakiness. It was just too smooth, no matter how careful you are not to overbeat it. It's worth it, and it really doesn't take that long. And these are super cheap. I want to say this is like $1.50, maybe $1.75. They're super, super cheap and totally worthwhile. All right, so you just push it down, and I twist to break it, that's a little bit easier. Yeah, Michelle says she's seen them at farmer stands. Totally great place. Pumpkin patches, yes, a lot of pumpkin patches sell both kind of pumpkins, so you can buy this when you're there as well. That is a great suggestion. Yeah, knife forks, but this is just super cheap and it works super well. So I really, really recommend a good pastry cutter. They're not the most comfortable things to use because I'm like pushing my thumb on this and it's kind of sharp and pointy, but I will just say it's worth it. Once it starts getting a little bit gummed up, what I usually do is take my hand and kind of run it all across the bottom to kind of break up all the chunks that are on top there, because we really don't want this turning into a paste. So again, this is just one of those things that's not hard. It takes a little bit of time. I mean, all of these ingredients are super easy to come by. And I'm all about recipes aren't hard. They can just be a little time consuming, but at the end of the day, it's worth it to do it this way and try to use a mixture. The end result will be so happy with. Yeah, no, Adventures of 7, you cannot use a regular pumpkin for this. It's actually a different kind of squash, so it's a different seed. I mean, they look the same seed versions, but buying like a big, small, dark colored pumpkin is still not going to be the same results as getting their correct sugar pumpkin. Hey, Joanna, it's nice to see you. Or you to see me. And I just turn my bowl on a pretty regular basis. Make sure that I'm getting everything. What we're looking for is for those big chunks of butter and shortening to be like pea-sized. We're getting there. I have a couple of big ones like this one, which is kind of like this. And we really want to almost there. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, it actually feels like it takes so much time when all of a sudden you realize there's people watching you and you should just be done and ready to move on. But it's really not that time consuming. That is a great question, Joanne. If you want to stock up on the, man, I do not know why YouTube is doing the green screen like that. Facebook is not having any of those problems. It must be some kind of set that I'm struggling with. I will continue to work on that. Hopefully next week will be better, so don't give up on me. Anyway, Joanne asked, if you want to stock up but you don't want to bake all the pumpkins, how long do they stay good? I will say I bought one a couple days ago, and when I went to cut it open today, it already was bad. Clearly it must have been bad when I bought it. But they're going to last through the season, I'd say, unless you accidentally get a bad one like I did. But honestly, it's going to be a lot better to make them all, make your puree, freeze it, end up with much longer results than with the sugar. All right, how about that? Sure. We are ready for the next stage. Do a quick clean. All right, for the next stage, we want ice water. Oh, hold on, I'm grabbing some. Okay. All right, I just my ice maker's totally broken. I just put some water in a cup in my freezer for a little bit of time before this, just to get started. So we want to start with a third of water, and of course I forgot my measuring cup. So I'm going to start with a third of a cup. We're going to drizzle that over the dough. Just like that. The second, but and I ran out of spatulas already. All right, so then you want to take a spatula and you just want to kind of stir that cold water in with your butter shortening and flour. And the reason you want to use the ice water is so that you're not accidentally heating that butter. Oh, you're hitting my light, buddy. You're causing shadows. Don't go over there, okay? There you go. Stay down. There you go. My assistant, my 6-year-old, whose birthday is today. You want to come say hi? You can come say hi. Whoa, be careful. Carrying the stool over. There you go. Oh.
Oh. Hi.
Say hi. Oh, that's good. Over here. It is birthday today, so he's eating special cereal. He's for me to finish this so that we can go do some fun. Can you say hi to everybody? Say hi.
Hi.
Oh, everybody's saying happy birthday. Can you say thank you?
Thank you.
All right, so let's go back to the pie crust. All right, so it's starting to kind of come together, but we definitely need a little bit more water. So I'm going to take a spoon right now, and then after this first spoon, you want to add like a teaspoon at a time. What you don't do is add too much water. All right, it should be starting to come together at this point. Like if you press it, it should stay together like that, see? All right, it's a little bit too dry still. So I'm actually gonna add like half a teaspoon of water, and that should be perfect. There we go. Anyway, I think I was saying before I got interrupted that that you want to use cold water so that because butter actually has a really low temperature for milk, and we want to get this butter cold and chunky, so the ice water will help with that. That's a great question, Kimberly. Why not use milk in the pie crust? I actually make about 6 different pie crust recipes. This one just doesn't use milk. Other ones do. You can use whatever pie crust recipe you like for pumpkin pie. This is just a pretty classic American flaky pie crust. I just prefer to use water. But the best part about cooking and making from scratch is that you can personalize it. So if you prefer using milk, totally go for it. Oh, that's another question that I get a lot of the times. Some people like using all butter, and they swear by it, and when they find out that I use half butter, half shortening, they're like, oh, that's terrible. And some people use all shortening because they like how stable it is. This is totally up to you. I've just found that I like the results best when I do half and half. But if you want to use all butter, go for it. Totally not a big deal. All right. You just poured all that out. And what we're going to do now is bring it together as a semi-cohesive dough. And once I have it semi-cohesive like that, I'm actually going to break it in half as evenly as possible. Now you'll notice that it's still kind of breaky. And that's actually good. This means that you're going to have a nice flaky pie crust. If your dough is too cohesive, you're actually gonna not be happy with the results. So I don't know if you can see, like right there, there's a chunk of butter. Right there, there's a little chunk of shortening. So that's what you should see. It should be kind of marbleized so that anything going on in your crust. You're gonna be a lot happier with the results than if it's 100% completely smooth. Okay. The other one. And essentially this, the reason you're doing that is all right, so now what we want to do is take some plastic wrap and wrap these up really good. And then we actually want to refrigerate them for half an hour. Okay. But I am super prepared and I already have a finished crust that we can move on. All right, so I'm going to put these in the fridge and grab the refrigerated one out. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. Ah, that's not what I meant to do either. There we go. You can look at the finished pie crust. Hey, birthday boy. All right, so for anybody just joining me, now we're going to roll out a pie crust once I get the surface all cleaned up. You don't want crumbles everywhere. Oh.
Can I get behind you?
Oh, okay. Behind me. All right. Oh, nice. Fun. And this is the birthday boy. Okay. So this is a pie bag. Yeah, Joanna, that's a great question. She asked, it's really hot, and her hands are really warm. She's wondering about handling the dough. One suggestion is to run your hands under cold water and then dry them so that they cool down instantly before you start kneading it or working with it. Honestly, just don't work with it. Use your spatula as much as you can and try really not to handle the dough pretty much at all. Yes, you can get the recipe printed out, Colleen. The pie crust recipe is already on my blog, and the pie I will get up on my blog today. But if you just search under flaky pie crust, you'll find the pie crust on the blog. All right, so this is a pie bag, and I adore it. This will also help Joanna with not handling the dough too much to roll it up. And these Joanna, we spatula to mix the water in it. Is I that dough. Break it apart with I break it apart with oh my brain totally is gone. What the picture? I'm to the piece and then I just stir it in. Rock. But I bought it for somebody recently and I ordered it from Amazon. So I got it from Amazon. I think it's free socks. I think I buy everything from Amazon. I like start rushing. Alright, let's go back to looking at this. Change my camera angle for you. Alright, so every once in a while I open it up and I sprinkle just a little bit more flour on it. Just to not get too stuck to the bag. It really doesn't match. I brush away as much as I brush on. And this way I never really building the dough, which helps with your thickness a lot better. Now the recipe that we made earlier for the flaky pie crust makes 2 9-inch pie crusts. So now just rolling to the right size. And like I do if I don't have a pie bag, I'm constantly turning the dough as I roll it, so no place gets too thin or too thick. And I love this is my counter, and it's easy to turn and rotate to roll out. You can even flip it if you find that you're maybe getting stuck on one side. On eBay in years. But yeah, I remember when I used to shop there, but I'm pretty much an Amazon only gal these days. All right, so all opened up. Can you see the texture there? Like, there's a butter chunk, there's a little bit of the shortening. You can all through it. It's not perfectly smooth. It's the result that we're looking for. Okay, so now we want to make our pies. Now, I do use a normal 9-inch pie pan glass. I've been like this super cute Wilton pumpkin shape that I tend to use every year for pies, but this is more like it's a lot shorter, and it's more like an 8-inch pie pan. So the batch that I'm making today is definitely for a 9-inch. If I was going to use this, I'd have a lot of leftover pie filling, which is fine. But it's super fun, but I would recommend that you cut down your recipe a little bit if you're going to use this. So, come on. So I just put my pie pan right over my crust. Then I reach my hand underneath, stick it in, and then flip it over. See how easy that was? And I just grab my bag and peel it away. I love this thing. And it's super easy to clean. You just wipe that. Okay. So now I'm going to start pushing my dough down into the pan. Make sure all those corners get all the way filled. Now the part that I'm the worst at, I totally admit, is pretty decorative pie crusts. I don't know what it is about pretty decorative pie crusts. Give me a cake, I can totally decorate it. But the decorative pie crusts, something about the pie dough, they're just always breaking on me. So I never do anything super fancy, but if you really love making decorative pie crusts, go for it. All right. I have a little bit of a bevel. That is an easy fix. Just take a fork, and we're actually, now if you have one of those cool pie wheels, that's cool too. Fancy. Kitchen tools. Is or works great. Get rid of all. Oh wow, that bag is amazing. My pie bag is awesome, and I just get on Amazon. When I'm done with the live stream, I will link to where I find it on Amazon, and I'll also link to the pie pan. Anybody who is interested. Oh man, my YouTubers, I am so sorry. I don't know why the stream is so rough. We're signed into the internet and everything. I don't know what's going on. I will work on the back end, and next week, I promise it will be better. The Facebook stream is working great, which is weird because usually I'm not sure why our house is over there. Sorry. So now pie is all in, and we're already doing something which is never. So usually I just want to build up a little bit and play with them. One of the things that I like using the pumpkin pie shaped one, I feel like I can get away without doing a decorative crust, and I just like cut the crusts really like straight, and then I'll roll out a little bit of excess dough and just throw a little pumpkin pie crust leaf on top. Super easy. Probably my favorite thing about that pan is that I don't have to do anything decorative. All right, so let's attempt to do something with this crust now. Does anybody have something that they really love doing with crusts? Yeah, I don't have feelings either way. So what I'm trying to do now is take away the excess from some areas and kind of just build up a little bit of a edge to this. And then we're gonna, I don't know, usually I just kind of fold the edge together. Or pinch, that's the right word. I'm looking for the right word. Usually I just pinch it together at the end of the day. All right. You like the edges just rough like this? I know, the taste is the same, whether it's pretty or rough, so. All right, the birthday boy left us. I think he got bored. I know it's not the most exciting thing to do on your 6th birthday to make a pumpkin pie with your mom. All right, so kind of built up a nasty looking pie crust. And now we'll try to like pinch. Maybe make this a little smoother first. I don't know. This is one of those areas where I'm always, people expect really nice pie crust from me too because of all my cake decorating experience, but it's just not the same. Yes, exactly. At least people know that it's homemade. That's a really good point. But I really love people who do really good pie crust. All right. Just kind of, this is what I end up doing. Just kind of going around and pinching. It's probably most people's go-to, right? I don't know. You guys can send me links to people who do really bitty pie crusts, and I will try to figure that out. Where am I doing this live video from? From my kitchen. this is just my house. This is what my kitchen looks like in real life. In fact, my filming studio equipment pretty much always my kids just have learned to work around it. Right, that's more or less even, right? Not bad. See, there we go. All right, now we're gonna put this in the fridge. You wanna let your pie crust chill for about 30 minutes, and that will help those edges not just fall the second they get in the oven and maintain a little bit of semblance of a shape. So I'm gonna put this in the fridge, and then we're gonna work on the pie filling. Check our puree. I'm getting out all the ingredients that I need for the filling now that I had in the fridge. All right, even with measuring everything out ahead of time, some stuff has to be refrigerated and some stuff doesn't. So we're going to take a little bit of pass the filling time. All the ingredients we need for this one. So for the pie filling, pie filling. Oh man, the pie filling itself. You can use any pumpkin pie recipe that you like with this homemade puree. So this is just the one that I like. No, if you have grandma's favorite or aunt's favorite or whatever, go with that. Okay. I think we are all ready for this portion now. Okay. Let's bring this back and let's lift it up and see. All right, and there you can see how much liquid we had left in this. Hold on, I'll get a different camera angle so you can see a little bit better. All right, so our puree has been sitting out and draining. Let's pull it out, and you can see it's not a ton, but there it is. So drain. Oh, look how good that looks. Ooh, Jen, thanks for sending me a link. Can't wait to check that out. All right, so this rate is from about 1.5 cans. Right, the board mixing. What else would you make apart from with pumpkin? I wouldn't make a pumpkin pie without pumpkin, but that's just me. You can use this crust obviously for any other pie, though it doesn't have to be a pumpkin pie to use the crust. It's a pretty classic pumpkin, pretty classic flaky pie crust. All right, so that little bit of puree that I have left, I'm just gonna put it in a bag and throw it in my freezer. Actually, I'll probably use it within the next couple days because we love pumpkin around here. And I have that other pumpkin that I already cut earlier to show you guys, so. We got a lot of pumpkin puree around here now. But it's always better to have a little too much than too little, right? I mean, that's my motto. Pretty much everything, which is why I tend to have excess of everything. All right, so we got our puree. Now for the rest of the ingredients. Next up, we're going to add the spices. So we're going to start with a teaspoon of cinnamon. And yes, I buy my spices in bulk. Okay. Teaspoon of cinnamon. Then, now, it's not everybody loves ginger. If you love ground ginger, I say go with a whole half a teaspoon. If you're a little wary of ginger, then maybe just do 1/4 of a teaspoon. So I'm not really a ginger fan, but I do like it in this recipe. Oh, we're gonna go for the nutmeg. And I like to create my spices versus pie spice. Oh, no. Don't worry about it. The pumpkin puree is super simple, and you can always go back and watch it again. So basically, you take a sugar pie, you cut off the top, cut it in half, and then you scoop out the ends, and you bake it for 4.5 at 350 degrees. It's pretty easy, but you go back and rewatch. Check out the blog post, ashlee.com/homemade pumpkin puree, I believe. But you can just search for that as well. Cloves is next. Now cloves is really strong. I just realized I put half a teaspoon of cloves instead of half a teaspoon of nutmeg. That's what happens when you're going really fast. You're trying to do too much at once. Oh, I don't think I want this many cloves. So, I'm going to get a spoon and try to scrape this out. And if you guys tell me that this doesn't happen to you, well, don't tell me if it doesn't happen to you. This happens to me all the time. I'm always eating ones. I'm making Texas sheet cake, and I substitute the bread of sugar. I did it, and so they're butter, cloves. So I'm just going to try to pretty much waiting again. Whatever's left will probably be there. Yeah, so what I figured out before looking at my that, I mean, cloves have a place and all that. Wow. Okay. I have some ingredients together, but I really like seeing the measurements or hearing them as I cook, and if I have them, I'll pretty much forget the measurements. So this is really good. All right, so here's another. Ooh, all this is. Yeah, it's cool. All right, and now for cornstarch. This is about 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. All right, so that is all the spices. Now a little bit of salt. Okay. Now brown sugar, which I do have already measured out. This is 3/4 cup brown sugar. This is 2 eggs and an egg yolk. The recipe, if you're using store-bought pumpkin puree, you use 3 whole eggs. Because I'm a little bit wetter, I recommend doing eggs and yolk. And some heavy whipped cream. Now, a lot of people use the evaporated milk recipe, which you wouldn't use the cream, you'd use less egg, and you wouldn't use the brown sugar. So this is kind of a personalized way to not have to have evaporated around. All right. Now, we're going to mix it up. Ooh. I have too much stuff everywhere. I have too much stuff everywhere, and I accidentally had the Bosch on top of the cord, and I almost dropped it. So I didn't. Yay. All right, let's go back to this. Oh, thank you so much. I hope that you do make it and that you love it. All right. One thing you want to make sure that you're doing is stopping and scraping the sides. I get kind of it has its own little sides. I forget to do this sometimes because it's getting spoiled. But this is just all I didn't need a big mix. And sometimes it's good to see that you don't need like a countertop mixer to make a recipe. All right, so the biggest thing that most people notice when making a pumpkin pie out of a homemade pumpkin like this is the color. This is it's not that your screen's off or that my camera coloring is off. It's actually a very different color than the canned puree. And the pie itself will be a very different color too. All right, let's get out the crust from the fridge. Thanks, Colleen. I'm glad that you like that. The reason that I prefer using my own brown sugar, heavy cream, and eggs versus using the evaporated milk is that not everybody can get evaporated milk. A lot in recipes. I don't know, something about as long as you're making this from scratch, to take it that next step. I'm weird. My sister's can attest to that. I'm weird. All right, so I got the pie crust back out of the fridge. It hasn't quite been 30 minutes, but we're gonna move on. It's gonna be okay. Which angle do we want to see? I feel like a magician, right? Ooh, I can control everything. Here, we're gonna do this angle. And so pour this right in. So good. Where's my spatula? Oh. Don't miss anything. I don't all. Yeah. Also, I wish the world had smell-o-vision. The thing that I wish is that we had transporters and we could get anywhere really fast, but transporters and smell-o-vision, they're right there for like the technology that I want the most. All right, so check it out. That is ready. Oh, sink crash. This is ready to go in the oven. So you want to do this. So what a little bit differently. I actually start at 425 degrees, which is pretty hot for a pie, and I bake it for about 15 minutes. That way, I find that I don't get the soggy bottoms by doing it this way. You know, you don't get that out. Anyway, my preference. This is how I do it. And then after that first 15 minutes, I actually turn the temperature back down to 350, and then I cook it for another 35 to 40 minutes. Kind of watch it. Really, I actually prefer doing this in a glass pan so I can lift it up and see the bottom and make sure the bottom crust is cool. I do love how pretty the white pan is, but it does make it a little bit more challenging. So you also want to check your pie about 10 minutes before it should be done to see if your pie crust is cooking a little hot, and it is. There's a couple solutions. One is like take your foil and make a really long strip and then wrap it around the edge of your pie, or I have this. I have all the cool pie toys. I have this, which is like an edge protector, an edge shield, and you can actually just put it right here like that, and then that will help still continue to cook your pie and protect your crust. This one has little notches right here, and more plastic. It's not ideal. If you have a standard pie and have the little handle on it, this thing is perfect for it. So let's do a magic trick now. Put this in the oven. Finished. In reality, I already made one, so we could move on fairly quickly. So really quickly, I'm now going to finish this off by making some fresh whipped cream, because as long as you're making everything else from scratch, might as well make the whipped cream from scratch. So bring my mixer back in. Actually, I need to bring Vera out for this because she whips up whipped cream so fast. All right. So I have my little bowl with the cream on it. Gonna add some sugar and some vanilla. Yes, Vera. Sorry, if you missed the beginning, yes, I find Vera. If any big TV show words, then we can be best friends. It's because she's my favorite tool. Okay. After beats for just a little bit, you want to go in there and try it. This is what I prefer doing. So now the sugar's kind of all been dissolved in there and the vanilla's all mixed in. You just want to taste a little bit to make sure it's sweet enough and has enough vanilla. I tend to go a little bit low on the sugar vanilla side to begin with because it's easier to add than it is to take away, and nobody wants their stuff too sweet, too sugary. And I'm using this time to like, oop, the water running, to get a plate out, get all ready. All right, it's not quite there yet, a little bit longer. So sorry about this, but if you try to whip it, this is one of those things you gotta make fresh. You can't like do it beforehand. Here we go. Let's see if it's thick enough. Still just a little soft, but I'm hungry, so I think we're gonna go for it. I'll try it another like 30 seconds. All right, there we are. That looks great. Soft peaks, which I like for topping pie with. Okay, so we have our fresh whipped cream. Karen asked for what kind of mixer it is. This is a Bosch universal mixer. I call her Vera. She's my favorite. She's great for bread. She's super powerful, 800 watts. I've only ever had one. My mom had one. My mother-in-law had one. It's seriously, they're amazing, and I highly recommend them to everyone. All right, let's change our angle, and let's cut into our pie. Okay. This is always that like moment of truth, right? The cutting in. I'm going to cut right on this slice so that it will look better. Later. I can't be the only one who does that, right? Cuts on that line to make it look better. And the other thing is, I don't just cut again. I always wipe this off so that I don't get little crumbs right here as I... All right, this is kind of like making a podcast. This is another secret maybe. I really struggle to get the first slice out all the time, so this might not be the prettiest. If anybody has any tricks to getting the first slice of pie out, please tell me. I really struggle with this one. Okay, here we go. Look at the texture. That looks amazing. Now again, as I told you, the color of a from scratch pumpkin pie is very different from store-bought because it doesn't have any dyes in it, so it's not going to have that same oranginess that you're going to get from the store-bought puree. So tastes better, but you know it does go a little bit weird to some of your guests to eat. All right, plop on some fresh whipped cream, and let's break into a bite. A little cream. Okay, get that close up for that texture. Oh, looks amazing. Now my favorite part. I get to eat it. No, this one that I made. Oh, is there any better pumpkin pie? Not known for cakes, right? But when you're from my brand, you ask for pumpkin pie. I just love pumpkin pie. All right, so today we've accomplished making the pumpkin from a pumpkin. We're making the pumpkin puree from a pumpkin. Making a homemade flaky pie crust, making a homemade filling, and then making a pie. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is my second week of live streaming. I will do it again next week, but next Wednesday I'm actually going to be in Los Angeles having some fun at a conference all about being a video creator. So I'm going to do my live stream a day early. I'm going to do it Tuesday morning. The big question is, what should I do? I was thinking that maybe I would do either my homemade eggnog, because 'tis the season. I've already seen it at a store, so that means I can start drinking it, right? Or my homemade maple bacon cupcakes. Let me know which one you want to see made, and I will make that next week. I'll stay on for a couple minutes and answer any last minute questions, but this is it. Homemade from scratch pumpkin pie. Let's see, how long has it been? I can't tell how long it's been. It took about an hour. Really, it's just really a super simple thing to do. The taste is amazing. It's totally worth it. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe. Next week's video. Again, I'm going to stay on ask and then 10 minutes. Stay on a couple questions. All right, maple bacon cupcakes is your vote. Oh, yeah, it's probably one of the most popular recipes on my blog. That and my homemade from scratch Alfredo sauce. That's another really good one, but maybe we'll do that a little bit later on because fall, you know, maple and bacon, eggnog, and I have a lot of ideas. If there's anything you've seen on my site that you want to see me make live, you can let me know that too, or just something you'd like to see. Eggnog. Don't worry, we will do both recipes, the maple bacon and the eggnog. Just which one to do next and which one to do next week. Is Bosch, B-O-S-H, Bosch Universal Mixer. They've been around since the 50s. They're not quite as popular as KitchenAids, but in my opinion, I really prefer it. KitchenAids drive me absolutely batty, honestly. And the Bosch is just a power horse. It's really, it holds a ton of cups. It's a great machine. It's really strong. Eggnog. Heather, I thought you'd say my homemade Alfredo sauce. I'm just saying. But you don't want to make that one from scratch, do you? You just want me to make it for you. Wow, it looks like eggnog's getting a lot. Eggnog cupcakes. You know, I do not have a recipe for eggnog cupcakes. I do have an eggnog fudge recipe. I haven't ever put it up anywhere, but it's really good. But eggnog cupcakes would be really good too. All right. We're getting a lot of eggnog quests. So obviously you can leave comments if you're not seeing this live, and also let me know what you want us to do. And I will announce probably tomorrow which one we're going to be doing next week, and I'll set up a reminder. Don't forget, if you see those reminders, to click to be notified so you don't miss when we go live next week, since it'll be at a different time. It'll be Tuesday at noon instead of Wednesday at noon. You're scared of eggnog? Oh, Megan, why are you scared of eggnog? It's amazing. Ooh, eggnog fudge. That's a good one. You didn't know that one. You can say it makes you easy. What is it about eggnog that worries you? Let's see if we can put your future to rest. We don't want to make you queasy. That is for sure. Is it eggnog? That's a good question. All right, so nobody has any questions. we are going to finish up, and I'm going to go spend my baby's birthday with him. So the recipe for the pie itself will be up on the blog by the end of the day. Right now you can find both the crust and whipped cream and pumpkin puree on there, but I'm going to put it all in one post for you, and I'll also stream this video there as well. So ashleemarie.com to find that. All right, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Now I need to figure out how to turn it all off. Actually, you heat up the eggs, so they're not going to be raw. I do not have a cookbook, Megan. I would love a cookbook. If you know someone who wants to give me a cookbook, send them my way. Would love to do that. It's always been a dream of mine. Let's see. Now I have to figure out how to turn this all off. I kind of forgot how. Stop that one. Okay.